What's up, beautiful people? It's Sindafam. Welcome to the channel. Today we're going to be checking this video from Greg from the Black Conservative Perspective, and it's titled "Woke Black Woman Melts Down After Getting Destroyed for Claiming Being on Time is White Supremacy." You have to be kidding me. Interesting. I'm excited to check this one out. Let's check it out.
Hey, this is my own comment, and it's in reference to the video that I did about punctuality and white culture. I'm pretty sure if you tap it, it'll take you back to the original video. But I wanted to expound on this a little bit. Specifically, I wanted to challenge white people to expand their thinking on this topic. The most common type of comment that I saw in the original video was some version of, "I'm white and I'm always late." I don't think that people were trying to refute the premise of the original video, but I do think that white people were trying to distance themselves from this particular feature of white culture. Here's where I want y'all to dig a little bit deeper. This is something that I notice white people do a lot whenever we talk about whiteness. There's an acknowledgement that a certain type of whiteness exists, but also an attempt to say, oh no, I'm not that type of white person. Here's the problem with that. A lot of times whenever you try to distance yourself from an aspect of whiteness, you're actually reinforcing that aspect of whiteness. So going back to the original example, when you say that you're late, you're still operating under dominant cultured constructs of time and punctuality. You're still being white about it. Here's what you missed. There are people who view the world very differently from you. And so you have to train your brain to be able to see things from a different perspective.
All right, guys, so we got to talk about a woke black woman who is going viral for a TikTok in which she basically claims that being on time is white supremacy, as if being late or being on time has anything to do with race. But this is what she's arguing, and she's basically arguing that black people should be allowed to be late to everything and that you shouldn't criticize anybody for being late. Now, this woman definitely is also a socialist or a communist, and there's a reason why you always see the socialist / communists pushing this type of stuff on black folks. Is because they like to use race politics to push their Marxist agenda, right? I mean, that's essentially what's happening over here in the United States with the woke movement. It's just cultural Marxism. So I want to talk about it, okay? And I want to go ahead and play the video in which she explained how she showed up to Thanksgiving dinner late with her white husband and how she was so shocked and surprised that her husband's white family had already started eating dinner before they got there because they were late. Take a look.
As a racial justice advocate, I'm often invited to give talks or to do workshops where I talk to white people about race. A big part of my practice is to offer real-life stories, examples, that type of thing, that help white people to be able to identify white supremacy in everyday life. My husband's family is white, and I often use the cultural differences between my family and his family as a way to help white people see their whiteness. There's one example that I use that always gets a ton of pushback. My husband and I were late to our first Thanksgiving with his family. I say late because it started at 12. We got there at 12:10, but whenever we got there at 12:10, everybody was already sat down and eating. I didn't know that. I use this illustration to point out that different cultures have different understandings of time, lateness, and what it means to be polite. Without fail, a white person will push back and say that lateness is impolite. I always use this as a teachable moment. I usually ask a series of pointed questions that challenge their assumptions. Sometimes it takes a lot of work, but by the end, they're able to identify how white cultural dominance works in this one small area of life, which opens the door for them to start peeling the onion.
Yeah, so you seen that, you heard that. Now, this woman got some backlash online for her take, and I'm going to play an example of some of the backlash that she got, and then I'm going to play her response to the backlash, because, you know, in a good society, right, a sane and decent society, yes, these types of people would get a lot of criticism for their insane takes, and black people would be at the front of the line criticizing this woke black woman for essentially trying to push the worst behaviors on black people or trying to normalize the worst behaviors, the most least productive behaviors on black people, which is a part of the woke cultural Marxist agenda. So I'm going to go ahead and play some of the responses that she got in her response to the criticism.
Lateness, being on time, has to be with some white supremacy. These people get time for their hands, so they have a lot of time. I mean, I am Nigerian, and most of the time, even in Nigeria, when people go late or attend parties late and all of that, they even tell them, sometimes they be like, be on time. There is no African time. They always call it African man time, because the stereotype is known or used to know that lots of Africans always attend parties late and all and stuff like that. But doesn't mean that it's every African party or every African, no. But here she's now saying it's only white people that are always on time. What kind of woke syndrome is this, Kwan? This is really getting out of hand, though. Wow. This lady does not even know or understand that there are some people that are time conscious. If their timing is 8, it is 8. If it's 10 p.m., it is 10 p.m. regardless of skin color. Why or how does being on time reflect with skin color? If this is a dream, please somebody wake me up, because I am trying to understand. Hey. But yeah, let's go on.
Without fail, a white person will push back and say that lateness is impolite. I always use this as a teachable moment. I usually ask a series of pointed questions that challenge their assumptions. By the end, they're able to identify how white cultural dominance works in this one small area of life, which opens the door for them to start peeling the onion.
Yeah, somebody's definitely peeling onions, because everything I just heard stinks. I would just love to see the evidence for how punctuality was invented by white people. Being on time is not exclusive to white people, and being late is not exclusive to black people.
Thank you,
it's called not being a narcissist and acknowledging, observing, as well as respecting someone else's time. You know, black time isn't a real thing, right? It's just something that some black people use and say to make it seem as if being late is somehow quirky and fashionable and inherent to their nature. When in reality, late people exist within all races and ethnicities. This isn't inherent whatsoever, and they just need an explanation for why they love wasting everybody's time. Being on time is not about upholding supremacy. It's about respect and being socially aware enough to acknowledge those around you. But if you want to make the argument that white people have a monopoly on respect and human decency, go ahead, I guess.
Peep this. So 6 months ago, I made this video talking about the aspect of white culture that I get the most pushback on whenever I do anti-racism workshops. And people were big upset at the time. People were so upset about what I said at the time. And 6 months later, it might not be that long. I feel like I did it sometime last fall, whenever it was. But people are still upset, and they are still carrying on in the comments about this. And because I guess I have some videos that are doing well, this video is like popping back up in people's algorithm, and I'm just like, oh my gosh, because people are so upset. White people are so upset in the comments of this video, and I just really need for y'all to be for real right now. Be for freaking real. I have had people tell me that I'm making the story up. I've had people tell me that I was being inconsiderate. I've had people telling me all sorts of things about myself and justifying away for themselves this thing that I'm just saying. There's a cultural difference between black people and white people and how we perceive time and how we interact with time. It's very simple. And I'm telling this story. I am in an interracial marriage. And I talked about the first time that I went to Thanksgiving dinner with my husband and his family, and we were late. I didn't realize that we were going to be late. We were late by like 10 minutes, 15 minutes, whatever the heck the time frame was. It was like really close to me to the start of the event. And we show up, and his family has already sat down, and they have already started getting their food and eating. And I'm completely bewildered because I'm like, the thing started at noon and it's like 12:10, it's 12:15, whatever time it was. We're here. Why is food started? Because in my cultural context, if we say that food started at noon, food don't start at noon. Food at the absolute earliest that you're going to be eating, the absolute earliest, we say noon, the earliest you're going to be eating is 1:30. I said that. And so anyway, I said that. I made a cultural faux pas because I didn't know what was going on. And so I said that this is that example is something that gets so much pushback from white people. So what happens in the comments? People start pushing back. And so it's much easier for these white people to believe that I'm lying, that I'm making up the story, that I'm rude and inconsiderate, than it is for them to take a moment to think, oh my gosh, maybe there's a cultural difference. No, time has zero racial component. Come on, be for freaking real, my God.
Amazing. Absolutely amazing. I cannot do this video without pointing out the obvious here, which is that we have a grifter who sells anti-racism work. She's more than likely a socialist or a communist, but yet she is participating in the capitalism of selling anti-racist ideology to white people, aka anti-white racism. And on top of that, she's married to a white man. So this woman who spends most of her TikTok talking about colonialism and how bad the white man is and white supremacy allows herself to be dominated probably on a pretty regular basis by a white man. Exactly. Okay. Amazing stuff, right? The woke revolutionaries seem to love the great white pipe more than anybody. Okay. Where there's a so-called person of color, especially a woman, a woke revolutionary, best believe there is a white man establishing supremacy over them in the bedroom, right? That seems to be kind of how this works a vast majority of the time, right? Like, for example, ask Ketanji Brown Jackson. In Corinne John Pierre's case, a white woman, or used to be, I think she actually separated. And then you have Kamala Harris, AOC, Ilhan Omar. The list goes on and on and on and on. They seem to love the great white pipe, even though they swear it down. They're trying to fight against white supremacy. Exactly. Again, pretty fascinating stuff. But to address the substance of what this individual is saying here, which clearly and obviously really makes no sense, she's saying that, well, punctuality is a feature of white culture, okay? And perceptions of time and punctuality differ based off culture. So what she's saying is that if you're black, you're going to perceive being on time as objectively being late, right? So if you show up to a Thanksgiving dinner at 1:30, even though they say they're going to start at 12, you're still on time because you're black. Although, objectively speaking, you're late. However, because you're black, okay, apparently that means that you are on time because your awareness of time is different based off your skin color, right? Than the white man who, if they show up, 10 minutes late, or if they show up at 1:30 or hour and 30 minutes late, like, to them, they're going to consider that to be impolite, right? That's a bad thing. Exactly. And she's saying that, again, this is a cultural thing, okay? And, again, it's really offensive to think about, because what she's basically saying is that white people, because of their skin color, they have the ability to show up on time and to understand the importance of being on time. But black folks, simply in virtue of the fact that you're black, you don't have the ability to understand the importance of being on time, and that you should be given a pass, okay? We should lower our expectations for black people who are late, because, hey, in black culture, being an hour and 30 minutes late for Thanksgiving dinner is acceptable, because it really going to actually start at 1:30. All black folks are late. She is perpetuating a stereotype that is detrimental to black people, but that's the point, okay? This is what they want, because we've done stories like this before where they say that certain traits, like, for example, hard work, more specifically the Protestant work ethic, rational thought, the ability to reason, belief in the scientific method, punctuality, they said, oh, these are all traits of white supremacy. Well, it just so happens that these traits are also conducive to being successful in a capitalistic society. And that's kind of the point, right? That's why I said that this woman is probably most likely a socialist or a communist, because the point of her trying to push these behaviors that are not conducive to success in a capitalistic society on black folks is because that is what the whole agenda really is about, right? It's about pushing back against norms and behaviors of a capitalistic society. Like, for example, when you talk about capitalism, you talk about showing up to work as a member of the labor class, you got to punch in that time clock, right? So you got to show up every single day on time, and it is important for employees to show up on time in order for a business to function, okay? It's very important to understand that. Punctuality is foundational to a capitalistic society, okay? The success of capitalism, okay? If all your employees show up late, if nobody's on time, if there's no awareness of time, then it's hard to make capitalism work, okay? And this woman knows that. So all of these traits that we talk about, or that the woke revolutionaries talk about, that are, you know, central to white supremacy, okay? They are inherent to the white man. The reason why they're doing this is because they want so-called non-whites to push back against the white man, aka capitalism, aka white culture. They want the non-whites to reject white culture, again, aka capitalism, and embrace non-white culture, aka socialism / communism. Okay, and they just disguise their real agenda as racial politics. This is what they do. Okay, this is why we see racial politics weaponized so much on the left, because it is a way to introduce socialism / communism, which is the true agenda of these people. Okay, race is just a tool. Okay, race is just a vehicle to introduce their Marxist ideology and to push it on the rest of society. And that's all you're really seeing here, right? That's what this is. Okay, this is the reason why they do this, because it's really nonsensical, right? I mean, you would think that the people that are supposed to be fighting against racism would not try to push the stereotype of black people always being late on black folks. But again, it's really not about helping black people or, you know, any type of real advancement and achievement for black people in a capitalistic society, because they don't want a capitalistic society at all, right? And the best way for them to not get a capitalistic society or to move away from a capitalistic society is to try to introduce cultural Marxism into the country through these racialized politics, right? So when you hear Democrats who have adopted this cultural Marxism or weaponized it for their own political gain, when they come out here and they say things like, for example, if you don't vote for me, you ain't black. Basically what they're saying is that, well, if you don't reject capitalism, okay, aka the conservative man, if you don't reject the white man, then, you know, you ain't actually really black, right? The only way to actually really be black is to be a Democrat or to be progressive or to be liberal, okay, aka to push society towards socialism / communism, okay, because that ultimately is the end goal. That is what the agenda is, and that is why you see race be weaponized the way that it is. So let me know what you guys think. Make sure you like, comment, and subscribe. Most importantly, share a black conservative perspective. Peace.
Interesting. Saying lateness is a black man's thing, being on time is a white man's thing. I'm from a country, Nigeria, where lateness is a thing. They call it African man time, Nigerian time, where they practically is a stereotype. This is not even it is a stereotype, but doesn't mean that every Nigerian or everybody goes to place go late. Everybody in Nigeria go to events or to the work late. The answer is no. There are still people who go on time. I have a friend who practically, if she's going for an event or if she's going out and she has an appointment, if it's for 8, best believe she's gonna be there on or before 8, and that is it. That is her. Maybe because she's lighter than me, that's why she's always on time. Now I'm trying to understand. Probably now I get why this lady said it, that being on time is a white man's thing. Because I mean, my friend who is always on time, she's also a reactor. My friend who is also always on time, she's lighter than me. She's light skinned. Now I understand. Ooh, she might be right though. How? I actually did not even think of it. That means I have to practically start checking the people around me to see if those that are lighter than me are always on time, and then the ones that are darker, they are always on. I have to take note on that. Nice one, sister girl. But all the same, the exact same thing Greg said, because I was about to ask this same person that is talking about white supremacy, everything, but she has a white husband. How? Be careful of the kind of information you listen and you consume. This type of people, racism sells. I've said it before, it's only in America. Racism will sell. You go to the market, you buy racism, and you will sell it for a higher price, because white people are racist. Being on time is white supremacy. This one, but she's got one at home, according to Greg. Say the white pipe. Waiting. Being on time is white supremacy. This is the first time I'm hearing it, but all the same, I would take time to check my friends who are always on time and always late, to know I will check it and look at their skin color. Maybe it's because of their skin color that is making them be late or be on time. But fun fact is, it is personality and not skin color. It just don't make sense. Some people just don't respect people's time, and some people just naturally prefer to go late based on the circumstance that they already know that lateness does not account for anything, does not count. To them, if you're on time, you're too early, which don't make sense. There are some people that if you're on time, you're early. It doesn't make sense. Like, I understand and I know that there are some circumstances that would make some people go late, and people would inform other people or inform the person they are meeting up, I'm running late, this and this is happening. It just goes to show that you respect people and respect their time. But of course, it's just that some people don't care, because I don't understand this idea where you be like, well, it's normal that in black community or black home, if it's noon, if you have an event or you have a cookout for 12, best believe that it's gonna start by 1 p.m. Well, yes, based on that circumstance, somebody would, it is the person, but doesn't mean that every black person would. The answer is no. So I don't get it. Doesn't mean that whites don't ever go to event late, or don't whites aren't late most of the time. Hey, I don't even understand how we got here. But all the same, it's safe to say that some people they know that some particular thing or ideology sells, so they will sell it to the people, and those who have time would buy into those ideology, because I mean, to them they are getting the right information. But this is crap. It just don't make sense. But yeah, let me know what your thoughts are in the comment down below. I'm sure tons of people have got a different opinion regarding this, and I would really love you to share that in the comment down below. You can share other useful information you think might be really helpful. Make sure to like, comment, and subscribe, and all of that stuff. And until next time, see you in the next video.